The problem is, I literally can't take care of myself, alright? And see, we've got a lot of organizations that work against us. Against us. A lot of you pieces of shit, you want to cure autism. Get rid of autism. Test for autism, even in the womb. Now this lady, foster on the spectrum, she's autistic, she's American, well, she might be Canadian, I don't know. Sorry, I found me a pretty flower out in the road, I had to pick it up. The thing about being autistic is that people don't understand autism. They want to tell you about their cousin or their uncle or someone else who has autism in their family. But then the person that they're describing, they don't describe somebody who's autistic. They list off a bunch of excuses not to listen to them. Well, that doesn't tell me anything about your uncle or what makes him autistic. Yeah, screw it, the flower's not going to stay. It don't matter. There's a few of them on the ground over here. Well, apparently including the one that just dropped off on me. Now, ADA. What's that? The American Dental Association? No. Alright, so we've got these people who are autistic. And of course, there's special groups for autistic gay people and autistic women. That's right. Special groups only if you're gay or a woman. If you're an autistic male, you still deserve the abuse, apparently. The things that you consider abusive to do to an autistic woman are okay to do to an autistic male. Then, of course, we've got a lot of women who are introduced to autism through severe drug use and waning in their physical beauty. Then all of a sudden, they're autistic. And that very much makes it bad for us. Now, males who are autistic, we're not treated like we're human beings. A woman who's autistic, we're supposed to give special treatment to, but we already give special treatment to because she's a woman. And then, of course, autism for her is something that, oh, well, we should help her, she's autistic. For her, she's autistic. When it's a male, it's, oh my God, he's a freak. Autistic? Oh my God, aren't they like emotionless, like psychopaths or something? The stigma attached to it is completely different. Like all of a sudden, autism is something that makes you into a monster if you have a penis. And that's just stupid. Stupid. Now, at the very end of her video, she does talk about some autism organizations that are not Autism Speaks, because Autism Speaks is horrible. They want to cure us all. And they've merged with like 3 or 4 other organizations that, well, one of the guys who started Autism Speaks, you know what he did? He had a practice where he tried to have homosexual conversion therapy. That's right. He thought that homosexuals were mentally ill, that homosexuality is a mental illness, and that homosexuals should be forced into therapy to become heterosexuals. Now you wonder why it is that I don't want to listen to the Bible thumpers. You wonder why it is that I don't believe that a Bible thumper in science is worth his weight in goat cheese. And near as I hear it, goat cheese is great for giving you the runs. I heard that from a couple of people who actually make their own goat cheese. Now, one of the things that we have to deal with is that, yes, we're a little bit more difficult to deal with, mostly because you don't understand us and make bad assumptions about us. And then we're being abused over those assumptions. Sorry about that. My back's pretty screwed up.
You ain't bothering me none.
Okay. Roar, I'm a big scary bear.
Nah, no bothering me either. You gotta stand still, right?
Yes, ma'am. See, you got it down.
Or run downhill because they can't run downhill.
God, if I could run, I would. See, a lot of people tell me, you know what, when people are hitting you, just run away. I'm
I don't
like,
stay in the shape I am because I run.
right? I'm in the shape that I'm in because I did run.
Right. I used to be a cross country runner when I was in like junior high, middle school.
Mile and 2 mile.
I did the 8-man and 4-man relay, 100-meter dash. I did cross country. I tried to do cross country once, but I didn't quite make it because I tore the ligaments in my knee.
The relays are too fast paced for me.
Yeah, I was always the anchor, the last man running.
Oh,
So you knew I was the fastest.
that's a good way to tear everything in your legs. Shin splints, ACL, everything.
Especially if you're not nice and stretched. Always got to stretch.
Wait a second, I need to pretend like I'm an autistic retard that doesn't know anything about the world, grew up under a rock, and doesn't understand the English language, apparently. What did you say?
Right? Nobody knows the stretches. Gotta stretch, gotta be limber.
See, that's one of the things that a lot of people, it's common sense that you should do.
Right.
A lot of people forego that step and they're like, oh, I don't need to. And then they're like, I don't understand why it happened.
But that's like trying to run a marathon and not train for it. Like, what's the point in it? Like, you're gonna get what? Like halfway, not even halfway through, and you're really like, you're gonna drop dead because you can't breathe.
Yeah, preparation is the important part. What the heck? Am I holding this wrong? It won't charge right. Pretty much everything in life is a matter of being able to prepare yourself for the worst and hope for the best.
Always.
But you know,
just be prepared for when that worst does come.
It does.
It does come. Everybody has a rainy day once in a while. Some more than others.
It all depends on where you are in life. Some people are looked down on no matter what, and some people we're starting to see as human beings, but barely.
I see everybody as a human being because I'm not here to judge. It ain't for me to judge anybody.
Well, I know.
I'm just here to live my life and then die. That's it.
I saw the S on your hat. I just assumed you were a superwoman.
I'm a Safeway employee.
I'll take it. Yep, you were one of them ladies that was here the other, what was it, about a month ago that was speaking to me while you were on break.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being friendly.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being friendly.
I try to be. I'm not real good at it because I don't quite understand social cues, mostly because, no offense, but neurotypicals are liars, all of them.
Right.
They just can't help themselves.
So, yeah. I normally I'm not really a social butterfly either because I'm not wanting to offend anybody by all this bullshit that's going on. So I try just to keep to myself because as far as I know, there are only 2 genders that you are allowed to have, and that is a male or a female. It's not a his or hers or hers or his or she. Or
Unless you're born with both. I do know some hermaphrodites that did not choose that.
I don't know any of those personally, but I know they exist.
I've only met 2. I met one of them in Rapid City, South Dakota, who insisted that he'd show me his goodies. No, that wasn't well kept.
Yeah, no.
And no, I wasn't willing to pay for it. No, I didn't want to see it. He showed it anyway.
Right.
And the other one was a guy I knew in Colorado named Cece, and he was born with both. And they asked his mom, which one do you want it to be?
Which one do you want it to be?
That was like the 1950s, late 50s.
Yeah, well, see, the thing with wanting to pick or choose, you don't get to. Because I heard when you're born that way, only one of the organs actually works. So.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. Back in the late 50s and early 60s, they didn't have a way to tell.
Yeah, I know.
Now they do.
My kids' great-grandmother from their dad's side, she had her youngest child, she had him and he had Down syndrome, but they didn't know what to call it, so they used to call him a mongoloid. And they used to tell her that he had to have special treatment, that he could not be dirty, and he had to be kept in pure white clothing and on pure cotton bedding and pure cotton diapers, like no store bought.
And then they decided that mongoloid was not PC, it was rude. So they used the word retarded because it means slowed down, it's not offensive. Well, then
Offensive.
Instead of kids running around calling each other mongoloid on the playground, they started calling each other retarded.
Yeah,
Yep. And then after retarded, they tried to change it to developmentally disabled.
Down syndrome.
And then developmentally disabled did not catch on. People just stuck with retard. I use the word retard often because I get treated like I'm an autistic retard who grew up under a rock and is completely uneducated, doesn't know how to read, doesn't know how to write, and doesn't know up from down.
Well, I just had like a short 10-minute conversation with you, sir, and I believe totally opposite.
Well, thank you, Miss Cynthia.
You're very welcome. You have a great day.
Yes, ma'am. Now the channel, Foster on the Spectrum. One thing that I am all for is gay rights. I believe that gay people are allowed to have rights, same as straight people. But the thing that I don't see is straight people going out of their way to flamboyantly be straight assholes. Now, do those people exist? Absolutely they do. Absolutely they do. I know people who are flamboyant assholes. I'm one of them. It's all satire. All of it. So you guys don't, in reality, want to be treated the way that you treat me. When you have a problem, you have people that you can go to that will help and have helped. When somebody like me has a problem, you don't have the time. No matter what, you don't have the time. There's always some reason that you don't have the time. And I have to understand all of those reasons. But nobody tries to understand my reasons. When you were too busy for all of the reasons that you were too busy to keep your word, I had to try to do it alone. Now, the most important thing as far as abuse goes is to prevent it from happening. And when it does happen, because it will happen, when it does happen, be prepared for it and have a plan of action. That plan of action is the most important thing. This whole running around in circles for months and months and months while things get worse and I'm forced to move somewhere else and I have to record everything. People don't like being recorded. I get that. Now, most of what Ms. Foster said was absolutely correct. Again, her channel is Foster on the Spectrum. Now, a lot of people, after listening to me for just a few minutes, can tell I'm not completely nuts. Or I'm not completely stupid, I guess. You can be highly intelligent and still be batshit fucking bonkers. I am living proof of that. When I say I'm batshit bonkers, I mean these people have driven me insane. When I say these people, what I mean is that I went to the people I was supposed to. We'll check off the list here. I went to my predator and asked him to stop. I told him what I was told to tell them. That still didn't get it to stop. Telling them how I felt didn't get it to stop. What it got is me treated like I'm a predator. I went to my friends for help. What did that get me? It got me talked over. It got me talked down to. It got me treated like a retard. It got me into situations where I had to hear about everybody else's problems when I had literally had to pay them for their time. Oh, Sean, I won't charge you. I'm your friend. Just make sure you bring some cigarettes. Do you have any money to pitch on weed? We're going to get some. Oh, fuck, man. No, that's not the help I came here for. You'd be surprised how often that happens. And I always got people trying to give me free weed, too. I throw away a lot of free weed. want to understand autism or being overwhelmed. I mean, the constant movement. You know what? For us, it's really important for us to be able to get away from this, to be able to have a quiet place where we can, of course, defragment from all of the crap that we get from you guys every single day. And she explains that, well, what ADA considers help and therapy, we can't stim, to try to harm us for stimming, to try to medicate us for stimming, something that doesn't hurt anyone. But people hurt us for doing it. So, of course, rather than educate people on the problem, you want to drug us and medicate us and over-medicate us and repeatedly over-medicate us. Medications don't turn off sensory overload. Now, I've been dealing with that for 6 years, 7 years. And instead of people trying to understand that it's not a choice, they treat me like it's a decision for me to be disabled. Meanwhile, autism is not my disability. All right, I have autism. I have autism, yes, absolutely. That shouldn't be a death sentence. And it shouldn't be treated like it's a curse. See, our problem isn't that we're cursed. It's that you people want to change anybody who is different and make them just like you. And if they won't do that, then they're just being difficult. They're just being naughty. They're just being selfish. That's how you treat us for being different. You tell us, oh, looks don't matter, and then you tell me I gotta shave my beard and I gotta dress nicer, and I don't have the money for a bunch of nice stuff. But that's your cure for it, isn't it? Your cure for being treated like an idiot by society. Autism is not a choice. Being forced into homelessness because of autism traits that aren't actually autistic traits is horrible. We already showed in the 90s that those autism traits are the exact same traits that people exhibit after long-term trauma and abuse. When your parents slap the shit out of you because you go, well, that's not fucking fun, is it? Well, that's what I got. No, that's what I got out of my mom. My dad wasn't there, he was in prison. When I got out, I was old enough that my dad was not going to smack me, he was going to punch me. I was not a large 9-year-old. So,
it was 3 of us up here.
But I was definitely a mean enough 9-year-old that my dad knew that smacking me wasn't going to do any good. My predators in law enforcement, they're all predators to those of us on the streets. We're all treated like we're addicts, all of us, whether we are or not. When we are harmed, we're told that we chose it. Officers and public defenders alike will literally change the law multiple times. Oh, well, the law says this. All right, we'll try it that way. Oh, well, now the law says this. All right, we'll try it that way. Oh, now the law says this. Well, you know what? Why am I even trying? Meanwhile, my rights are denied because I'm disabled. But then again, the rights of a disabled person are not being observed because I'm intelligent. Can you people see what the problem is here? Can you understand what the issue is? Now, this foster on the spectrum lady, she points out a lot of important things, but she also, very specifically, she talks about how there's no representation for the gay people who are autistic or autistic women. No, there is all sorts of support for autistic women and autistic gay people. There are very specifically groups that help out autistic gay women, okay? How many groups are there specifically for autistic straight men? It's because autistic straight men don't matter. We'll subcategorize ourselves into littler, tiny groups and say, oh, well, I'm more victimized than you. So everybody's having a pissing contest. Now, what are the chances that Foster on the spectrum is either gay or bi? Pretty decent, based on her political beliefs. And she also has certain beliefs on abortions that, well, you may agree with or may not. I certainly don't. Then again, I can't get pregnant, can I? I know a lot of women who did the whole feminist thing, but still went looking for the bad boys like the other girls did. Later on in life, they wanted to blame everything on those men, the men that they chose to date, the men that they chose. See, here's the thing, is that it's a lot tougher for a guy. We are supposed to be the one to walk across the room, approach a woman, and ask. Well, now asking, even talking to a woman, even saying hello to a woman, just because you said hello, you can go to literally prison. If a woman and her friends stalk you because you're fucking ugly and they know nobody cares, who's gonna fucking stop them? When you try to turn them in, what are they gonna do? Play victim, as always. And there's nothing that a male can do to stop this. There's nothing that an autistic person can do to stop this. We're not allowed. When we are abused, it is assumed that we made it up. We must have made it up. We are too retarded to know what getting punched in the fucking face feels like, apparently. But then, of course, with nobody being held accountable for punching us in the face, if they punch us in the face 20 times until we finally punch them back, we're going to fucking jail, aren't we? Because we're mentally ill, we're not going to be allowed a fucking day in court. We're not going to be allowed a real defender. We're not going to have the money because we don't have the same chances and opportunities as even a black person. Sure, there's all these organizations, but they're specialized organizations. Because the only people speaking up for autistic people are autistic people. And a lot of those autistic people are saying shit to try to make their friends and families happy. And that's fucked up. Now, Foster on the spectrum, that lady, she seems to know her shit. The guy who started Autism Speaks thought that he could force people through abuse to not be gay anymore. If you abuse them enough, they won't be gay anymore. Well, this guy helped to start Autism Speaks. And guess what his methods were for stopping people from being autistic or showing autistic traits? More abuse. Also, many of us on the spectrum, we're not interested in sex. We have other things to do with our time, other things that we think about. When I hear oh, men only think about one thing from a woman who types about how she needs to get her guts smashed, like, you know what it makes me think of when you talk about getting your guts smashed? Pooping. Explosive diarrhea. Anyway, with long-term abuse and nobody understanding and nobody helping to speak up, and the fact that places like Autism Speaks, they don't help the victims. The victims being those of us who are autistic. Autistic people don't matter to you. With black people, you tell us that we need to be tolerant and accepting of them, or do you treat them like they're autistic? You tell us we should be accepting of them. How about homosexuals? Are we supposed to be accepting of them, or do we treat them like they're autistic? We're supposed to be accepting of them. Meanwhile, we got members of the black community and the gay community bitching about how their rights aren't being observed while they're going out of their way to shit all over the rights of others for being different. BLM is shitting on people for the color of their skin. An autistic person is more likely to be shot by a police officer than a black person. Autistic people are extremely likely to be fucking murdered for stimming. Then we got all these junkies all over the goddamn place that want us to fucking feel sorry for them. I can't go to a fucking hospital without being harmed by the fucking hospital staff and have them treat me like a junkie because of all the fucking junkies. I exhibit certain traits, especially when I'm nervous, because I have Tourette syndrome. It just so happens that lots of people who are strung out on fucking meth end up showing traits of having Tourette syndrome too. You know why that is? For a completely different fucking reason. It's because they're on fucking drugs, stupid. Now, instead of being treated like I'm on drugs, it would sure be nice if one of my family members would have fucking cared enough to speak up about me having Tourette's. But no, they don't. They just let me get fucking harmed for having Tourette's. Then there's my autistic traits. The ones that you consider autistic, those are not autism traits. Those are traits of severe abuse, severe trauma. When you don't allow us to be a part of your group, you don't allow us to be a part of your society, and then you blame us for it, like we chose to be different. Imagine if you did that to gay people. You say how wrong it is to do to gay people, but it's apparently not wrong for people to do it to us. That includes gay people. I have been raped by homosexuals because they thought, hey, I just call him mentally ill and I get away with it, and guess what? They were fucking right. People donate millions of dollars to Autism Speaks. But Autism Speaks does not speak for us. Look at the disgusting bullshit from Maddie Ziegler on their autism movie. She didn't play somebody who's autistic. She played somebody who's stereotypically retarded. Now, the autism spectrum, there's 3 different levels. One of those levels is, well, you're low functioning, probably nonverbal. You might still need help changing your pants and wiping your ass at fucking 60 years old, autistic. A lot of those people are highly intelligent, but their frustration comes from not being heard. And for somebody who's non-vocal, it is very difficult to be heard. You guys have a bad habit of pretending that something's true just because you want it to be true. This is a neurotypical trait, not an autistic trait. We are all well-grounded in reality. The problem is that you people have no basis in reality. Your ideas of things are based on some fantasy fucking world that you saw on TV. Mixed in with every paranoid fucking thing that could possibly happen bad to anybody, being shoved down our throats for weeks at a time. If your son wins an international spelling bee, who's gonna give a shit? If Gabby Petito and her boyfriend Brian Laundrie get into a fight, everybody gives a shit. Did the cops do the right thing in that situation? Fuck no. At no point in time did they. The most disgusting part now is the Petito family going after the Laundrie family. They should all be going after the cops who made this happen. The police officers who neglected their duties. In multiple states, might I add. Same as with me. The police wanted to neglect their duties until people were fucking dead. And then they wanted to direct it. to somewhere else. Oh, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's not our fault. It absolutely is. By the way, how many bodies were found when they went looking for Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie? Over a dozen dead people altogether. Have they released the names of any of the other victims that they found? Most of them probably homeless people. Of course, they're not going to tell you their names or how they died. Nobody's going to give a shit. BLM doesn't give a shit. Autism Speaks doesn't give a shit. MMIW doesn't give a shit. Of all those organizations, the only one that actually ever addresses any homeless people, that'd be MMIW, but only if they're native. There's lots of white people on the streets disappearing too. And they're not heard because they're on the streets. They're not heard because they have too much poverty to defend themselves. Just like the natives on them reservations and in the surrounding areas. There's nothing there for them. Most of the jobs that are there are done by white people. Or have white managers who are brought in to run a factory. If that happens to be going on at all. Or of course we have the casinos that are ever so popular these days. Sure, gambling's illegal, but not at the reservation. Anyway, this Foster lady, Foster on the Spectrum, I think she goes by. You can tell there's a lot of her political opinions on homosexuals, and that when she puts down a site that might be helpful, she puts down one specifically for women and one specifically for gay people. On the spectrum, of course. But she also speaks about how what you consider progress is abuse. It diminishes us as human beings. And it paints us in a way that is detrimental to our way of life. We are peaceful people. But you harm us daily for being different. And you tell us it's our fault. Like we chose to be different. Like we chose to be born with autism. When we're victimized, we're told that we chose it. How fucked up is that? To tell somebody that they chose to be born different. That they chose for people to victimize them for being different. And you say, oh, Sean, you can't expect people to change. You can't expect people to get an education. You can't expect this. You can't expect that. You know what? You can speak out. You can educate people. Instead of trying to tell people who are being victimized, they just need to shut up and go to the back of the bus. And even BLM does that to us. We are the most victimized people in the country, by far. I'm not talking about autistic people. I'm talking about disabled people, homeless people, and men. You see how many crimes have been committed against me. How many people have taken advantage of my disabilities. I need other autistic people to speak up. I need other homeless people to speak up. Instead of just letting this happen. And then these people want to complain to me when their lives aren't perfect. I get treated like I'm a junkie, and I have to ask these junkies for help. I get sent to services for help that don't help. They don't do any of that. And there's a bunch of junkies there, and that's where I meet these junkies. They're going to the same services because they're out here too. They got some of the same quirks as me, but they got those quirks because they're on meth. I was born with Tourette syndrome. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't a fucking drug overdose that fucking did that shit. I was born different. That doesn't mean bad. My entire life, I have been harmed for being different. My entire life. Autism Speaks has training videos on how to train your retard. How to train your pet retard. And that's how Autism Speaks classifies us and treats us and talks about us. About how we're horrible demons that need to be cured. They only focus on one type of autism. The ones who are going to be shitting their pants at 60 years old. The fact is, black people with black parents have a vested interest in their fight for black rights. Autistic children and autistic adults with neurotypical parents who listen to Autism Speaks. These people are not helpful to us, they're harmful to us. Our parents automatically restrict us because we're different, we must be violent. It should be expected of us. No. Do not abuse until we have to defend ourselves. When you force someone to defend themselves, they're not being violent, they're being defensive. And how horrible is it that autistic people worldwide, have to deal with things like travel bans. We're not allowed in a lot of countries. Did you know that? Autistic people aren't allowed in certain countries. The only time you care about an autistic person is if they're rich and you can shove them in our face. Oh, look at this person who had every advantage. But they're autistic. So they overcame all of this adversity as an autistic person because they had a fucking shit ton of goddamn support. You want to shove Elon Musk in our face? Hey, he did more than you did. He's done a lot more than you in one lifetime. More than Donald Trump, too. He's closer to being our savior than Temple Grandin, who you guys want to talk about like she's God's gift to autism. No, she had every fucking opportunity handed to her all growing up. She got picked on. Yeah, sure. So do the rest of us. Was it excessive? Probably. The amount of abuse that I continue to take is fucking excessive. But she had every opportunity. She's also not autistic. She's a sociopath. There's a very big difference. An autistic person wouldn't think to use an animal in that way to engage in wholesale slaughter. She thinks like Fritz Saukel. If you don't know who Fritz Saukel is, I'll explain the man to you. He worked for a guy named Heinrich Himmler, who's in charge of the SS in Nazi Germany. Heinrich Himmler worked for Adolf Hitler. Their master plan was to get rid of all disabled people, get rid of all free thinkers, get rid of all the homeless people, get rid of all the Jews, get rid of all the blacks. All of us who are considered Untermenschen, lesser peoples. Shock therapy was used on homosexuals until the late 50s. That's right, I want you to think about this for a moment. They would shock your brain for being gay. If you were a woman who got horny, they would shock your brain for being horny. They continued this shock therapy for disabled people all the way up until the late 80s. Then, for people who stim, this is Autism Speaks' idea of treatment. If you stim, just like putting a shock collar on a fucking dog, they put it on your wrist. And if you stim, they fucking shock you. Some of us have Tourette syndrome. We'll do weird stuff with our face. We'll do this. They fucking shock you. This was still being done in 2016. In at least 3 facilities in the United States. If you won't be normal, we will torture you into normal. You'll remember every time that you stim that it's gonna fucking hurt. No! Kids who are on drugs show a decrease in intelligence. But that's your way of stopping us from being autistic, from stopping us from having Tourette syndrome. When we exhibit signs of being abused, you harm us for them. When we're abused to the point that we want our lives to end, instead of you helping stop the abuse, which you should have done the first time we came to you. But what do? You blow us off like we're retards. That's Autism Speaks. I'm not gay. I'm also not straight. So I don't fit in anywhere. I'm down to 15% battery, and this video is 45 minutes long. Hopefully my stuff upstairs is charged up decently. All my snipes were too short. I'm gonna take a rip off my tobacco. It's gonna make me cough like a motherfucker. It always does. I hate smoking it off a tobacco pipe, but I don't want to roll a cigarette. I want to get back in there and charge my phone up. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Yeah. That was nasty. Anyway, my external battery died. I'm down to 15% battery. So I'm going to go charge up my external battery here. Hopefully one of the other ones is close to charged up. It's tough trying to get all this stuff done. I'm overwhelmed and I can't possibly function like this. There's lots of autistic people that if they saw what I'm going through, they'd be able to speak up. But they're not looking at what I'm going through. Some of them are speaking up in general, but they're not speaking up for the individual victims, which is what we need in specific, like people did for George Floyd. You know, there's a lot of autistic adults who end up dead because nobody cares, or because people just want to focus on the skin color. Oh, it's not okay to kill a homeless person, is it? It is. People kill us all the time. None of you care. You'll make excuses for people who fucking murdered us. You'll say, oh, well, he was probably mentally ill. He. Why is it nearly always a he? Because 96% of those killed by police are men. 4 out of 5 crimes committed after dark are committed against men. Most people who are murdered are men. Most people who are murdered are homeless, disabled men, in specific. Over 60% of those killed by police last year in the United States, over 60% of them were homeless. 51% of them are disabled. 96% are men. When it comes to serial killers or violent crimes, most violent crimes are committed against men. Most violent murders are committed against men. Women are far more likely to kill their children than men. Now, when it comes to violently killing their children, men and women stand equal at 31%. That means 62% of the time that your child is killed, 62% of the time, it was your mom or your dad. But then there's also the types of murder that are not considered violent crimes. Also, when it comes to physical violence against your children, did you know that women are 5 times more likely to beat their children than men? Did you know the most abusive relationships, bar none, in the United States are lesbian relationships? That's because we teach girls differently than we teach boys, but we don't teach them differently in their relationships. We teach girls that it's okay for them to hit a boy once. It's okay for her to hit that boy. I'm not the one who stayed with your abuser for 20 years. The fact that you're cross at somebody who didn't do it to you over things that are your decision than ours. Did I choose for you to stay with that person for 26 years? No, you chose to stay with that person. For whatever reason, you chose to stay with them. Do what? What do you need?
I'll give you some money. Can you run to Safeway and get me some saltine crackers, the mini ones?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll give you $6, whatever's left you can have.
I'll bring you back the receipt and the change.
Okay.
The mini saltines?
Yeah, there's mini ones that like this square like that. Saltine crackers.
Are they like the little clam crackers or whatever?
No, just the regular mini. No hurry.
Now, one thing that's important is no victim left behind. If you were in a relationship for 26 years getting beaten, I have absolute sympathy for you. And I am wholeheartedly willing to help protect you from those predators. But, this is a big but too. You got to understand that I also am at risk. I am far more at risk than you. When it comes to looks, how many of the people who told me looks don't matter, looks shouldn't matter, wanted to tell me that I needed to cut off my beard and dress in some nice snazzy clothes? How many people their solution for all my problems, it's because of the way that I look, huh? That's what they want to push. Now, there's lots of people who have beards. Having a beard doesn't make you a bad person. Being bald doesn't make you a bad person. Now, how many people, instead of trying to find out what was going on, just wanted to make fun of the way I look? Well, how about if I make fun of them back? Does that feel good? Do they like that? Of course they don't. I'm a horrible person if I do it back. Oh my God, tamales! Tamales are delicious. Alright, so we're going to the store for Mike's mom. She wants saltine crackers. mini saltine crackers. So does that make me unofficial library business? Stores. Anyway, we're sent to services that don't care about us. Blow us off. They tell us they have an overwhelming caseload, or we weren't sent to them for this, or we weren't sent to them for that. We're sent there just for therapy. We're abused. We're sent to fucking therapy. That's right. Well, when you're abused, you're supposed to go to the cops. When an elderly or disabled youth are abused, when a youth is abused or an elderly person is abused, you're supposed to turn it into adult protective services, local police with them. But none of you did. None of you helped me to turn that in. None of you have any proof that you tried to turn it in. I saved my proof. What did you do? Meanwhile, the cops here are crooked as ever. Same as anywhere else in the United States. Any advantage they may have or hold, they utilize to have you harmed. You don't matter. You are an Untermenschen in most people's minds. Well, that asshole's got a staring problem. I suppose I could let him have it, but he's a fucking cop. Maybe I should stare back. Or would that be considered rude? Would it be against the law for me to stare back? Might be. There's lots of things that are not against the law to do to me. But it's against the law for me to even threaten to do such a thing to others. Imagine that. Fucking bastards.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Alright, there's $2 receipt, miniature saltines.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Well, somebody got to pretend to be the good guy, even if it's only me.
I know, I was gonna walk over there, but I thought, well, that's okay. I don't wanna close this just to go over there, so, yeah, I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I gotta head back upstairs. I got stuff plugged in.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'll bring you back in.
Oh, you're supposed to go.
Okay, that's right.
You're welcome. Now, apparently we're supposed to color code for the LGBT community now. We're supposed to know every single them, they, that there is. And of course the color coding system that goes with it, and some big complicated network of just straight stupidity. Maybe straight stupidity isn't the right word, but you can't say gay stupidity because then you're being derogatory, right? I think everybody caught up in this stupidity is stupid. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation or your gender at birth. What matters to me is your content and character, and most of you have none. Now this foster lady, I do like a lot of the stuff that she has to say. She does show her political bias quite a bit. Kind of like Chloe Roma, who claims to fight for men's rights, doesn't actually fight for men's rights. She just talks about it. Let's see if this external charger will work. I got 30% charge on it now. Being homeless, I get treated like I'm a meth addict no matter what. It doesn't matter that I don't do drugs. What matters is that I'm homeless and I don't matter. See, that's what it's like. You guys want to talk about poor parents of autistic children? No, they're poor children. Well, those parents are busy utilizing their children as a plea for sympathy. Those kids are being irreparably damaged. They're going to be thrown out on the streets without a voice because their parents aren't busy fighting for them. Those parents are busy fighting for what the parents want. Only what the parents want. From Amanda DeMent to Laura Nelson, David Nelson. And then, of course, you always treat us like we're Lenny from Of Mice and Men, and I get to tend the rabbits. Now, this foster lady, she seems to understand quite a bit, but many people, we're expected to stop and pay special attention to autistic women. We're supposed to pay special attention on autistic trans people. So literally, women and trans people are cutting into everything. The one thing we can't cut into is police violence. Women statistically do not have to deal with police violence. Most of the time, if police are violent with a woman, it's literally because she has instigated it to that point. With an autistic person, the police are more likely to instigate that incident. There's a good chance that a majority of the women killed by police are autistic. But what are the chances that they're going to release that information? Meanwhile, a lot of the information that I tell you about, it's public. You can look it up for yourself, but you don't. A lot of people, they like to send me stuff from doctors that they like, you know. There's this doctor or that doctor that talks about autism. Well, good. I'm glad that doctor exists. Now, what did you learn?
Hello, Moto.
Oh, fuck. We'll get into these things. It's damn near impossible. Because I gotta run around like a chicken with my head cut off. There's a lot of people within the LGBT community that used to be friends of mine. There was a situation with Natalie. And they wanted to pretend like no matter what, I couldn't possibly understand. I couldn't possibly understand because I'm not a insert blank. I couldn't understand what it's like to be bullied for being gay because I'm not gay. Well, that's not true. I've been bullied for being gay my entire life. I've also been bullied for being straight my entire life. Boy, oh boy, does that feel good. No, it doesn't. Getting people to try to spend a little bit of time to understand autism. Well, we can't do that because we have to worry about color coding for the gay community. And then color coding for the lesbian community. And color coding for the trans community. And bathrooms for the trans community. Jesus fucking Christ, can't somebody take a shit in peace? I don't care what bathroom you use. I care if you're a predator. If you're a predator, I don't care how you identify. I don't want you using any of the bathrooms that are available to the public. I don't want you having the opportunity to harm people. But I don't get what I want. What I get is whatever your table scraps are. Whatever time you're willing to give me in between your partying and other excesses. And we're supposed to just understand that. Oh, Sean, you understand, don't you? Oh, Sean, I really like this girl. I know I was going to keep my word and we could actually stop the abuse right here just by helping you out. But you got to understand, Sean, there's this girl I really like. There's always a girl you really like. You're a fucking horn dog. I don't see how that's my fault. Oh, the last time this was used was Sunday, October 23rd. Huh. Oh yes, this is my old phone. It's got a different pattern. That's my picture. This one is mostly charged. This is chapel, 2:30 p.m., Sunday, October 23rd, so... God, I can't get it to take a screenshot. Right, there we go. Chapel, 2:30 p.m., Sunday. God damn it, fucking zoom in. Fuck it. Alright. Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Joanna Taylor Smith. Let's see. Details. Her phone number is 720-368-4484. That's Joanna Taylor Smith. She's one of the people that I had to deal with through all this. Let's see. Shows my call log too. All right, let me try this again. Well, I guess I don't have Molly Smith's number in here. I do have Meg's and Jai Rogers, Sergeant Jones, Stephanie Mejia, Dallas, Anna Alford, Joanna Taylor Smith's number, Brenda Dickinson, that's Aunt B, 308-566-0380. Les Rainwater's number is 720-666-1063. She's another one of the predators from this. And there's Amy Witcher's numbers. 641-223-0752 and 308-249-9476. Brent Jepson's number, 308-874-6037. Brett Roloff's number, 828-341-1942. Carl Rogers' number is 321-313-1650. Christopher Tapp's number is 720-469-2841. Damn, there's a lot of numbers in here. Dana Jepson's number, Adams County Detective's number, Debbie Holmgren, David Lane, Detective Madison, Erica Clemens, Erin Cockerham. Her number is 321-223-6179. Jai Rogers, that's one of the detectives in Natalie's case, 720-322-1220. I can't remember who Jaylyn is. I think she's a public pretender I had at some point. Jeff Ritter, 720-323-9255. Joanna Taylor Smith, 720-368-4484. Kim Jepson, 303-552-1497. That's weird. That wouldn't be the same Kim I know. Let's see. Christy Manee, 307-684-2796. Angela Kurzmal, 720-828-1596. Laura Nelson, 308-890-0188. Alex Furman, 720-338-3805. Andre Gagasian, 856-506-9606. Officer Gerhardt, 303-441-4360. Benny Noel, 303-803-3290. Public Pretender in Arapahoe County. Her name is Erica, 303-418-1300. Peer, 303-995-2107, also known as Peer Byron or Peer Wars Bluck. There's Priscilla from the Starbucks in Cheyenne, 307-701-2559. Adult Protective Services of Boulder, 303-441-3304. Ryan Ingersoll's number is obsolete. She's dead. Russell Huggins, 720-795-6447. Sarah Bacon, 480-828-9020. Tabitha's old number is 720-988-9246. Terry Jeffson, 308-215-0078. Brenda Dickinson, 308-566-0380. William Barr, 303-885-9774. Dallas, 308-874-6262. Shauna Sinclair, 208-841-4147. Zachy Albanada, 931-217-4713. Tinkerbell, her real name is Ariel. Her number is 303-827-4870. Hopefully one of my other phones is charging up now. Ooh, it's at 10%. That's good. It might have the number on it. Dang, there is a lot of evidence on every single one of these devices. I could scroll for days through screenshots. Let's see how much battery I got on here. Apparently someone wants to send me a message. Her name is Shauna Van Sickle. So I'm gonna end the video and see what she wants. I need help. Instead of people taking advantage of the fact that I'm homeless and stuck out here in public, constantly overwhelmed, I need someone to understand what that's really like. Not tell me about how they understand. No, if they understood, they'd listen to help. Not listen to speak over me. You know what you're not doing when you're busy speaking? You're busy not listening.